At 18, I fell in love for the first time on the farm. I didn't know what love really felt like until that summer. Not the kind you see in movies or read about in books, but the kind that sneaks up on you when you least expect it. The kind that's silent at first, soft like dust in sunlight, and then hits you like a thunderstorm that's been building in secret. It started on my uncle's farm. I had just turned 18, sent there for the summer to toughen up, as my dad liked to call it. No phone signal, no air conditioning, just wide open land, sweat, silence, and him. He wasn't like the people I grew up around. He was calm where others were loud, strong without trying to prove it, and I couldn't stop watching him. I didn't even know why at first, but soon I couldn't stop feeling him either, even when he wasn't near me. This isn't a story about a city boy meeting a cowboy. It's a story about me finding a part of myself I didn't know existed, about the way his hands worked the earth, the way he looked at me like he already knew. What happened on that farm changed me forever. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications, because this isn't just a story about love. It's about the moment everything changes, when someone walks into your life, and suddenly nothing feels the same again. The day I arrived at my uncle's farm, the sun was unforgiving. I stepped out of the old pickup with my backpack slung over one shoulder, the soles of my sneakers already sticking to the hot gravel. The air smelled like dry grass, sweat, and earth. Nothing like the city. Nothing like home. I felt out of place in every way possible. My uncle gave me a quick nod and clapped me on the back like a stranger who was trying to pretend we were close. "You'll be bunking in the old worker's house," he said. "We've got someone else staying out there too. You'll meet him soon enough." I didn't care much about the arrangements. I was 18, bitter about being sent away for the summer, and already dreading every second of it. I just wanted to be alone, to get through the next couple of months and go home. Then I saw him. He was by the barn, shirt off, jeans stained with dirt and sun. He was leaning over a water trough, hands wet, splashing his face. His back was broad, tanned from days under the sun, and his hair was longer than mine, dark and messy like he didn't care what it looked like, and somehow that made it hotter. When he looked up, our eyes met, just for a second. But something in his gaze held me in place. That was the first moment I forgot to breathe. He gave me a slow, curious look, not unfriendly, but unreadable, then went back to whatever he was doing. My stomach twisted in a way I couldn't explain. I turned away quickly, pretending I hadn't been staring. Later that day, I found out his name was Wyatt. He was 19, grew up working farms around the state. Quiet type. Didn't talk much unless he had something worth saying. My uncle said he was a good worker, which I assumed meant he kept to himself and didn't cause trouble. Wyatt and I ended up in the same room, 2 twin beds separated by a narrow aisle and a window that didn't quite shut all the way. He didn't say much that first night, just tossed a shirt over the back of the chair, kicked off his boots, and lay on the bed with his arms behind his head. "You snore?" he asked, eyes on the ceiling. I blinked. I don't think so." "Good." And that was it. The silence between us was strange, not awkward, just charged. Like something electric was in the air and neither of us wanted to acknowledge it. In the morning I woke to the sound of Wyatt getting dressed. He was already halfway out the door, barefoot, shirtless, hair wild and damp from the shower. "Breakfast's in the main house," he said over his shoulder. I nodded, still half asleep, watching him walk away. I don't know when it started exactly. The staring. At first it was accidental. I'd catch glimpses of him working in the field, muscles flexing as he threw hay bales, dirt streaked across his arms like some kind of painting. Then it became intentional. I'd linger, watch him longer, and every time he caught me I'd pretend I was looking past him. But I wasn't. Wyatt noticed. I knew he did. He just never said anything. One evening, we sat outside by the fence after a long day. The sun was setting, painting the sky in burnt orange and pink. He was smoking a cigarette, something casual, like it helped him think. "You really don't talk much," he said, glancing at me. I shrugged. "Didn't think you wanted conversation." He smirked. "You'd be surprised." I looked at him then, really looked. His jawline was sharp in the dying light, his lips slightly parted, and for a second I imagined what it would feel like to reach out and touch his face, but I didn't. Instead, I asked, "Why are you here? I mean, this farm?" He took a slow drag. "Nowhere else to go." That hit deeper than I expected. I didn't push. That night, as we got into our beds, the window creaked from the breeze. Wyatt rolled onto his side, facing away from me. Then, right before I turned off the lamp, he said, "You keep looking at me like you want something." My hand froze on the switch. He didn't turn to face me, didn't say anything else, and I lay there, heart pounding, wide awake, wondering if he was right. After Wyatt said it, "You keep looking at me like you want something," I couldn't sleep. I laid there in the dark, facing the ceiling, my body still but my mind spinning like wildfire. I kept replaying his words, the way he didn't say it like a joke or with anger. He said it like a fact, quiet, observant, like he'd been paying more attention than I thought. The next morning, we barely said a word. He left early, before sunrise, probably out in the east fields. I dragged myself out of bed later than I should have, washed my face in cold water, and tried to shake the heat from my cheeks that hadn't left since last night. At breakfast, my uncle asked if Wyatt and I were getting along. I said, "Yeah," and shoved eggs into my mouth so I wouldn't have to say more. But later, as the sun hit its highest point and the air turned thick with heat, I found him by the stables, brushing down one of the horses. His forearms were covered in dust. He was sweating through his shirt, and yet somehow he looked like he belonged there, solid, calm, part of the land itself. "Want help?" I asked, my voice lower than usual. He didn't look at me right away, just gave a small nod. "Grab the other brush." I stepped in beside him, close, but not touching. We worked in silence, only the horse breathing and the wind moving through the trees. My hand moved with the rhythm he showed me, slow, steady strokes. And for a while, it almost felt normal. But I could feel him, not just his presence, his body heat, the tension in his shoulders, the way he kept glancing at me when he thought I wasn't looking. Finally, he broke the silence. "You gonna answer me?" I looked up. "About what?" He stopped brushing, turned to face me fully. "You know what?" I didn't. Or maybe I did. But I wanted to hear him say it. "You said I look at you like I want something," I said slowly. "What if I do?" Wyatt's expression didn't change, not right away, but something in his eyes softened, not vulnerable but less guarded. "I ain't judging you," he said. "I just don't get why you don't say anything." "Because I don't know what it means," I confessed. "I've never wanted someone before, not like this." He nodded like he understood, but kept his gaze locked on mine. The horse let out a soft huff and stepped sideways, breaking the moment between us. Wyatt turned back to the stall, ran his hand gently down the animal's neck. "I've had guys look at me like that before," he said, "but never one who actually stayed long enough to mean it." That stunned me. I leaned against the stall's edge, heart pounding harder now. "So, is that what this is to you? Just another look?" He turned toward me again, this time stepping a little closer. "No," he said, voice quiet. "But I don't want to be something you'll regret. There was a weight to those words, a quiet sadness I didn't expect. "I won't regret you," I said, and I meant it more than I've ever meant anything. He stared at me for a few seconds, then, slow, cautious, reached out and brushed a bit of hay off my shoulder. His fingers lingered just a moment too long. It was nothing, a tiny gesture, but my body reacted like he'd touched my skin with fire. He looked at me like he felt it too. We were so close then, inches apart, breathing the same breath. I almost kissed him, almost, but then a voice called out. My uncle, shouting for help with a fence post that had snapped. Wyatt stepped back instantly, cleared his throat, and turned toward the barn door like nothing had happened. I stood there, my whole body humming, heart in my throat, watching him walk away. And for the first time since arriving on that farm, I didn't feel lost. I felt pulled toward something I didn't fully understand yet, but craved more of with every passing second. The days that followed felt like something had shifted in the soil beneath us. We kept working side by side, Wyatt and I, feeding the horses, hauling hay, mending fences. The routines were the same, but the energy between us wasn't. Our movements became more aware. Our conversations, though still brief, carried weight in every pause. I noticed how his arm would brush against mine more often. How he'd wait for me to finish a task even when he didn't need to. How sometimes he'd look at me too long and then glance away like he'd seen something he wasn't supposed to. But he never said a word about it, and neither did I. Until that Friday night. It was the end of a brutally hot week, and my uncle had driven into town for a supply run. The house was quiet, just Wyatt and me in the bunk room. Both of us lying on our beds, the window open, the fan spinning slowly overhead. The moonlight came in soft through the window, casting silver over the room. I couldn't sleep. Heart racing, skin warm, thoughts tangled. Wyatt shifted in his bed. "You still awake?" "Yeah," I whispered. A pause. Then, "You want to go out for a bit? Get some air?" I sat up immediately. "Sure." We walked out barefoot, down the old porch steps and across the grass to the back fence where the field stretched out like a dream. The stars above us were insane, more than I'd ever seen in the city. The sky looked infinite. We leaned against the fence, shoulder to shoulder, and just stood there, breathing it all in. "I used to think silence was boring," I said, surprising myself. Wyatt chuckled. "It's honest. Can't fake silence." I turned to him. "You always talk like that?" "Like what?" "Like every word has to earn its place." He smiled. "Guess I just don't see the point in wasting breath." I smiled back, then looked away. My heart was thudding again, like it always did around him. After a long pause, he spoke again, quieter this time. "Do you ever wonder what it would feel like?" I looked at him, startled. "What?" His eyes were on the grass. "You and me." The question hung in the air, suspended like the stars above us. "Yes," I said, barely breathing. He turned his head, slowly, met my eyes. Then he reached for my hand. It was subtle, almost cautious, like he was afraid I'd pull away. But I didn't. His fingers slid between mine, rough and warm and shaking just enough for me to know this was real. Not just an idea, not just curiosity. His hand didn't let go. My throat tightened. "It's not like I planned for this," he said, staring straight ahead. "I know. I don't even know what this makes me." I stepped closer, until our arms were touching. "It doesn't have to make you anything." We stood there like that for what felt like forever. His thumb brushed softly over my knuckles, and then, without looking at me, he asked, "Have you ever kissed anyone before?" I swallowed hard. "No." His grip on my hand tightened just slightly. "Me neither," he said. "But I keep thinking about kissing you." I turned to him then. "You can." That made him look at me, and this time he didn't look away. He took one step closer, then another, and his other hand rose, slow and careful, until it touched my jaw. It was gentle, tentative, full of a fear that matched my own. Then, finally, his lips brushed mine. Not a full kiss, just enough to feel like lightning passed between us. He pulled back, breathing heavy. "Is that okay?" I couldn't even answer. I just leaned in and kissed him again. This time, deeper. And he kissed me back. No one was watching. No one needed to know. But in that moment, under the stars, barefoot in the grass, I knew I'd never be the same again. The morning after we kissed under the stars, everything felt brighter. We didn't talk about it, but something had changed. At breakfast, Wyatt sat closer. When we passed each other during chores, our hands brushed, and neither of us moved away. There were no big declarations, no long conversations, just stolen glances, subtle touches, and a silence that, for once, felt full instead of empty. But of course, that kind of peace never lasts long. It was later that afternoon, when we were fixing the broken fence behind the east pasture. I was holding the boards steady while Wyatt nailed them back in place, sweat running down his jaw, shirt off, chest rising with every breath. I wasn't even trying to hide the way I looked at him anymore. He noticed, and for the first time, he smiled like he liked it. During a short break, we sat in the grass under the big sycamore. He reached for my hand. Just a quick squeeze. I leaned my shoulder into his, and for a minute, it felt like the world had paused just for us. Then, we heard it. The sound of footsteps behind the fence. Fast, clumsy, heavy. We both jumped. By the time we stood up, a figure was already running back toward the dirt road. One of the ranch hands from a nearby property. We didn't know him well, but he worked with my uncle sometimes, hauling supplies and helping with the cows. "Shit," Wyatt muttered. "You think he saw?" "He saw," I said, heart thudding. We stared at each other, panic crawling in fast. My hand was still hot from where he'd held it. Wyatt took a step back. "This is bad." I nodded. "I know." He turned away, hands on his hips, pacing like he couldn't breathe. "Maybe he won't say anything," I offered, even though I didn't believe it myself. Wyatt shook his head. "Guys like him? They don't stay quiet, especially not about this." His words stung, but I knew he was right. When we got back to the main house, things were quiet. Too quiet. My uncle wasn't around, but Wyatt went straight to the bunkhouse and shut the door behind him. I waited outside for a few minutes, then knocked. No answer. "Wyatt," I said through the wood. "Open up." Nothing. "Please," I added, quieter this time. Finally, the door creaked open. He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. He didn't look at me. "You don't get it," he said. "I've been through this before. Not like this, but close." "What do you mean?" He looked up, eyes red. "A kid in my town got outed 2 years ago. Small place, same kind of people. His life got ripped apart. People stopped talking to him. His own dad kicked him out." I felt cold all over. "I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen," I whispered, stepping closer. "But I'm not gonna pretend like this didn't mean something." He looked at me then, and for a second I thought he might reach for my hand again. Instead, he said, "I don't want to lose everything because I couldn't keep my hands off you." That hurt, but I understood. "You're not the only one with something to lose," I said. He nodded, but I could see the wall going up again, the same one that had been there when I first arrived. "Maybe we need to slow down," he said. "Slow down or stop?" He didn't answer. I didn't stay in the room that night. I slept on the porch swing, listening to the crickets, staring up at the stars we kissed under. They looked different now, distant, colder. 2 days, that's how long he avoided me. He worked in silence, slept before I got back, and never once looked me in the eyes. It was like he was trying to erase what had happened between us, like pretending nothing had changed could make it true. But on the second night, just as a soft rain started tapping against the roof, the bunkhouse door creaked open. I was already in bed facing the wall, but I heard his footsteps. Slow, hesitant. I didn't move. I didn't say anything. Then I felt the bed shift behind me. He climbed in, gently, carefully, not to the other bed, to mine. He didn't touch me at first, just lay there, his breathing shaking in the dark. "I miss you," he whispered, barely audible over the rain. I turned toward him. His face was right there, his eyes open, scared. "I don't care who saw us," he said. "I care more about how I felt when I was with you." I reached for his hand under the covers. This time he didn't let go. When we woke up, his arm was still around me. There was no panic, no regret, just sunlight through the window and the scent of hay drifting in from the fields. He looked at me like he finally understood something about himself. "I'm not ready to tell the world," he said softly, "but I'm not going to keep running from you." I nodded, heart full. "I don't need the world. I just need you to stay." And he did. Every morning after that, he found reasons to brush against me, to stand too close, to sit next to me even when the whole porch was empty. He never said the word love. Neither did I. But when he kissed me again, really kissed me, behind the barn one golden afternoon, I didn't need to hear it. I felt it